Okay, guys, Blizzard has just dropped the Chimera trailer, so this is the new unit coming to Warcraft Rumble, and I want to talk about it straight away. I want to get in there and showcase everything that we've seen from it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the whole thing through, because I haven't seen it yet, and then we're going to play it again, and we're going to pause it at certain points and just talk about key moments. So we're going to play the whole thing through first so I can react to it, because I have not seen this yet. Chimera. 5 cost. AoE poison, just quite big AoE. It can shoot down one lane, then turn and shoot down the other, but that's normal. Okay, these are the talents. I'm going to have to stop and have a look at these talents afterwards. Lightning Ball applies frost on hit. Interesting. Poison Spit inflicts twice as much poison. Right, let's rewatch that and react and talk about the specifics of the especially talk about the specifics of like the costing and some of the talents and kind of what we think is going to be useful for. So, it's 5 cost. So, flying 5 cost unit. We know that it's in the beast category. It's got 1 poison head and 1 lightning head. It attacks poison first. Interesting to note. It attacks poison first, then lightning. Now, I wonder if that's just because those units were closer to the poison head, or whether those units were closer to the lightning head. But we don't actually see it get deployed more than that in this game. Looks like, by the way, they're actually playing it on the Devil Sword Queen map as well, because we can kind of see Devil Sword Queen just chilling up there. Both attacks are AoE, so as we can see here. The poison is a big AoE splash that looks like it has quite a large splash area. And the lightning chains. So it has 2 AoE attacks, dealing significant enough damage with both to take out the smaller, lower HP mini pools. So like Murlocs are getting 1 shot. We don't know if there is a level discrepancy here. I assume they filmed this on even levels, but Murloc Tidehunters are getting 1 shot, and then obviously Vultures pretty much get 1 shot by anything anyway. Right. Sorry, my children are apparently going feral upstairs. Right, Leviathan, gain an additional 10% health per deploy. So very similar to Hogger's Hamhock talent. It's also 5 cost. So I can tell you off the bat that this might be a difficult talent to get working, because A, we don't know how much it stacks to, but B, it's a 5 cost unit. So it's not like something that you are going to play frequently unless you build a cycle deck around playing Chimera. I guess you could play like an old Murkay or a Chalga deck that kind of focuses around like cycling out Leviathan. I'd love to know how much this stacks up to, though, to really feel how powerful it is, because 10% HP per deploy depends on its actual HP values, because we'll have to see that when we get there. So what we can see from this is it's got a very large splash damage with the poison. The initial impact doesn't deal like a significant amount of damage. It's not like Drake, where it's going to wipe out those footmen. It deals a smaller amount of damage, but it obviously stacks up over time. Good thing is, though, the splash damage is probably good for it dealing with its kind of biggest counters, which like Mountaineer, for instance. That chain lightning and the splash damage, it might mean that it trades positively versus Mountaineer, which is kind of interesting. We also know that the chain lightning attack can attack air units, and it looks like the poison is going to be bombard only, so only attacking ground units. So it looks like it's got a bombard ability, which attacks the ground units with poison, and it looks like chain lightning can attack both ground and air. So lightning ball applies frost on hit. This is just a little bit, this is so similar to the Ogre Mage Frostfire talent, where it applies frost on its fireball. There is some synergy for this card with this talent. Applying frost and then applying poison means you're going to slow them, and then they're going to have a poison stacking up on them, so it makes sense. And I think like adds a little bit of utility to this this unit. I'll have to look at the last talent to have a think about what we think the best talent is going to be here. But it makes sense. Applying frost is similar to Frostfire. We know that Frostfire is useful on Ogre Mage, so I can kind of see why this might be useful. It synergizes well with the unit itself. But is it better than the other talents? I just don't know. Also, how hilarious. you don't even see frost getting applied in this clip because they just die. So you barely see the frost getting applied. It would have been better to show it versus a tankier target. So I just found this clip quite funny. I can't actually skip back on the timeline. It's kind of annoying, so I want to go back and watch that. I think it'll be a good unit. I get the impression that this is going to be a good unit. It just depends on how much HP it is and how easy it is to kill. Let's go back and I want to go back. I'm going to skip and wait until we get to that last talent again. Okay, so I just want to talk about. I'm actually just stopping this gently here because I'm just showing you what is essentially Mountaineer versus Chimera. Now, Chimera is 3 levels above Mountaineer here, so we're going to assume that there is quite a sizable HP increase. This is also supposed to be showing off the Leviathan talent. We don't know how many extra stacks the Leviathan talent's got here, or whatever, but it looks like with 3 levels below Mountaineer, maybe with the Leviathan talent, it could tank like 5 or 6, maybe 7 shots from the Mountaineer, which has got quite a high single target DPS. So we're going to assume this has got quite a decent amount of HP to work with, which, if it can tank a Mountaineer like that, especially at even levels without the Leviathan talent, good, because basically Mountaineer, if you think about like how you play into Mountaineer on sort of some of the PvE levels, Mountaineer can basically like 2-shot most flying units like Drake and Rend. So if it's that tanky in the air, especially as a high damage dealer, Leviathan might make sense, because if it's got that much HP, then Leviathan, you're getting a massive boost in HP every time you deploy it. And you know, if it's like Hogger, where the max stacks are like what, 3 or 4, you know, there's some hidden mechanic with Hogger stacks. If its max stacks are like 3 or 4, you know, if you can get up to like 30 or 40% extra HP on this thing, and you play around this as a win condition and cycling this out, this can become very difficult to deal with. But anyway, when I go back over, I don't really care about Frost Shock because, like I said, Frost Shock's more utility. And it depends on how this is going to be used, and really it depends on how this trades versus units in general. So like if you need the extra HP on deploy to make this much more viable, then you might just need Leviathan. Corrosive Breath. Poison Spit inflicts twice as much poison. This is why I needed to reread it, because I didn't know if it said twice as much damage, but it inflicts twice as much poison. Questions. Is that just the on-hit poison when the Corrosive Spit lands, or the Poison Spit lands? Or is that the every time? Yeah, I suppose it must stack 2 poison rather than 1, which I guess for tankier targets is a big deal. But if for not versus tankier targets, is it going to make that much of a difference? That's my question. Like twice as much poison just means that you'll stack up to the max poison stacks twice as quickly, which is obviously very good for like burning through high HP targets. But if this thing is going to be clearing lower HP targets off the map really quickly, then is that like super important? I don't know. We'd have to do some testing. I'm leaning towards, genuinely, after kind of a bit of consideration of this video, I'm leaning towards Leviathan maybe being the best talent for this, just simply because 10% HP is a lot, especially if it has a big HP pool anyway. And if it can allow it to take more effective trades versus its biggest counters, that's probably going to be the one that I would like aim for. I don't think that Frost on Chain Lightning is that big of a deal, although I probably can see the utility in reducing attack speed of units that get affected by it. And then twice as much poison is just obviously very good versus the high HP targets and the tanky targets, but it's also, in my eyes, the one that's going to get you the least value versus the widest spread of units. But I'll never know without testing, and it's going to be a bit of a guessing game. My gut take is I'm leaning towards Leviathan as the talent that I think would be best. I think the Frost talent is probably also good. The Corrosive Breath, I think, is not as useful. The reason I like both Leviathan and the Frost one is Leviathan makes this unit better versus everything. In general, it just makes it tankier. It deals with its counters a bit better. It makes it better in general. In a heavy, expensive deck, it might not be the play. But if you think that in PvP, you can usually get like 4 huntresses out across the entire game, that's like 40% extra HP that you get from that talent, which is actually a big deal. And the Frost one is high utility, great versus towers, great versus, again, its counters, like Huntress, for instance. So definitely has a lot of utility there. And actually will naturally allow you to stack up the poison more quickly anyway, because if you slow everything down, then you're going to be getting more poison shots off. So it kind of almost makes that third talent a little bit redundant. But you know, I'm leaning towards Leviathan or Frost. I don't know which one I'm going to prefer. But regardless, cool unit, 5 cost. There's some testing that we want to do with it. Like, what's the wind-up time of each attack? Can the heads shoot, like, in cones? Like, what's the actual, like... Can the heads... Is it like sort of there's a 90-degree angle here and a 90-degree angle here that the heads can attack in? I don't know what the actual turn speed needed for the heads to actually attack things is. That's something else that's going to be want to be testing. But I can see this unit being very good and definitely work in certain decks. So yeah, very excited about this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.